oh my gosh, so we call the meeting to order, 6:30, sorry. And we want to start with an, oh my gosh, we all know Rick is retiring by the end of the year. And I just want to say you will be so missed. You are so loved and we're really sorry to see you go. I saw a lot of your comments back and forth.
Yeah,
And
he's not
everything.
gonna go. I'm in denial.
Yeah, we won't let him go too far.
We still know where he will be.
Yeah, we know where
We can still find him.
So,
We know where he'll be.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move right to public forum. I see people in the audience. Do you have anything you want to say?
Yes.
Sure. I'm here. We haven't,
Stand up and
Introduce
say
yourself.
your name.
So for the minute, please introduce yourself.
my name is Andrea Klein.
Do you need address as well, Kathy? No, okay.
KLEIN. I've been a resident of Guilford for 7 years. I have 2 daughters that are in middle school. One's in Adams, one's Baldwin. My interest today is one of the agenda items, which is converting Adams B from a strictly baseball field to a multi-purpose. For the main purpose of having the Adams softball team able to practice and play at their school and on property. They're the only team that doesn't have access to a facility where they could. Obviously you can't have everything there. You don't have an ice rink or whatever it may be on, certain schools, but for this one, there is an ability to have that field. So we started this a while ago and we worked through several channels to get here. We've gone through Guilford Little League and we have gotten their blessing to make sure it didn't have a detrimental impact on the Little League, which it does not. Then we went from there to the Standing Fields Committee. And we also have their unanimous blessing on this, which was great. From there, we went to the Board of Ed through Dr. Freeman and Jake Jarvis as well and received their blessing. So my understanding is this is our next step in the process. So Rick has been absolutely amazing for me personally and the softball community and getting us to this point. So I thanked you a million times, but I'll do it again. He really has given a ton of energy and resources to what our goal is to get these girls to play at their school. So thank you again, Rick, publicly. I've said it privately, but he deserves that. So thank you.
And are you for the same reason?
I am.
You are, okay, and are you just, you're here for something else? So could we ask, why don't we make a motion at this point to move the agenda item C, new business, up to just,
I'll make the motion.
yeah, where does it go
New
after,
business C to,
after approval of the minutes?
after approval of minutes.
Okay.
And if I can I just say one
You
more?
don't have to sit through the
Yes.
whole.
Yes, and the one thing too that we've been very focused on is funding on this, which I know is one of the reasons you guys will be voting on this today. We did get the blessing from Dr. Freeman and Jake Jarvis that are willing to match what we estimated for funding from the Park and Rec. In addition, the softball community is also banding together and doing fundraisers to try to also contribute. So we want to be part of that solution. So.
We'll discuss that when we do, so we've moved you up to the top, so you don't have to sit here. You are welcome to stay for the whole meeting if you like, but you may not. All right, anyone else for public forum? If you state your name.
Yep, so my name is Sam Zimmerman, I've been a resident of Guilford my whole life. I just wanted to talk about the new layout changes at Bittner Park. I just have some feedback from some local skaters. We kind of found that now that the ramps, there's not really any room behind them. It's a lot harder to kind of use the park when there's more people there. Cause there's like nowhere to go when you're like waiting around for your turn. And also previously there used to be a lot of room behind the ramp, so you can kind of go around and, come up with new ways to move through the park. So I think that this would be fixed by just moving the west and east ramps in a little bit. Cause there's I went there and measured today, I think there's about like 21 feet between the left ramp and the center portion. And everybody kind of agrees it's a little like spread out, so that wouldn't be a bad change. So the other thing too is the area by the entrance gate where the asphalt apron is. it's a little uneven and there's not a lot of room to go around that centerpiece if you're trying to access one of the larger ramps from the other side. So if the whole thing was moved like 10 feet to the north, that would also help tremendously with that issue. So I just wanted to provide some insight into that, so.
Okay, excellent feedback. And can you have a look at this?
I can. I don't know if we can move it to the north too much because there's gonna be a basketball court there. I mean, technically, can you skate on the basketball court?
Yeah.
There's that space, you know, it's,
Right,
there's not gonna be a fence there or anything.
yeah,
We're not real excited about if you're skating when it's painted, when the surface
Right.
goes down, because it kind of ruins the painted surface. It's not now, it won't be till the spring, so I mean, have all the space now. But yeah, I know what you mean, but we kept the same distance east-west that it was north-south before. We measured out, made sure, 'cause I know there's a certain amount of
right,
speed you gotta get from one ramp to get up to, you know, the pyramid and the pyramid
Yeah.
to the other ramp. So we tried to keep that same distance and we actually communicated with ARC, the ramp company we bought them from. And they said that, you know, that was the distance we put is basically what they suggested we do. Having said all that, we have in our 5-year capital budget 2, maybe 3 years out replacing all that equipment, all new stuff. 3 bowls, and probably should me with, you know, skate park, you know, the folks who use it, get input on that, but there's a whole new system that's been proposed by the ARC, American Ramp Company. And I know one of them is a half pipe, like a half pipe, not a bowl, but and some other stuff, but you know, it all fit into that space there, so. But yeah, I know what you mean with, so where that asphalt is, that was stone before.
right,
We had an asphalt, so this keeps the stone from kicking up onto the.
yeah, that was a good change.
Concrete, the little
Yeah.
wheels, right? You guys
Yeah.
getting those things? It's actually falling, so we paved it for that reason. It's not really for skating, it was more to keep stones off of there, you know? We can move it a little, I mean, how much you moving it in, like east-west?
So.
Guessing how much?
Yeah, so east-west wise, so behind the ramps currently, there's about 4 feet of space behind with the concrete. If that was increased, like even just to like 8 feet, it would make a huge difference. But it wouldn't necessarily be beneficial if the whole park wasn't moved slightly to the north. Just because having that space behind the ramps is a good way to go around the backside. So you can kind of avoid traffic if there's other people there, and also so that you can build up a bit more speed to kind of do things differently. So previously the park, yeah, so the spacing between the ramps and the center box is the same. But behind each ramp, obviously you had the huge area where the basketball court was. Even before the basketball court paint, there was like a concrete area. And then from the entrance to the first ramp, I think I measured from where the spot from the old ramp was, and it's about 21 feet. So it's just like there's kind of reduced mobility in a way. So yeah, I mean, I think that if it were to be moved slightly, it would kind of reduce the need for anyone to go on the basketball court once it's painted. Just because you would have a better area near the entrance that you'd be able to have kind of open space. And I just remembered this now, that little box that was there that's sitting outside the park right now, is that getting reincorporated into the park or? Yeah,
Yeah, I guess the guys, we did, when we did this last week, just didn't put that back in there. Yeah, it'll go there, yeah.
okay,
It's just, that's portable, it goes wherever.
Yeah,
it goes,
right.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion? Is it possible that, Rick, you could meet up there with this gentleman here? As a, you know,
Sure.
just meet, you guys connect and meet up there and see exactly what, you know, if,
So
we can accommodate you.
tomorrow.
okay,
Parks about 4, well, you're not gonna remember, but look at.
I'll find it.
Call here and I'll set up a time to meet with you there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Excellent, thank you for coming. Thank you, yeah.
Thank you, Sister.
And before we move on, did you want to add anything? before you
I
just-
second that precisely.
I thought so, I just want to make sure we're covered.
Yes,
Okay, so,
We need to second that motion to move everything.
oh, okay, so we have a motion to move item C under new business up to just under approval of the meeting minutes. Do we have a second? All in favor or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay. So that moves us to correspondence, a lot of correspondence, a lot of thank you, thank you, thank yous. We have an outstanding Park and Rec team. And if you were here last weekend and was a part of anything that went on in this building last weekend, you would have seen it at its best. It was just packed all weekend. So any discussion on correspondence? Okay, then we have the meeting minutes of October. If someone make a motion to approve those.
So moved.
And a second? Second. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Changes? Excellent, all in favor?
Aye.
I abstain, I wasn't here, and I think.
I also abstain, I wasn't here.
So, okay, now, that brings us up to item C under new business, now under approved meeting minutes. So we'll let Ricky start with the Adams baseball field conversion. And how much does everybody know about this? Did this come up last month or no, it was this month that happened, right?
I'm not sure, but so I'll just do.
Just give a-
Andrew really kind of spelled it out, but so the Adams B field is, that's the one behind the A field. The A field's the one with the stadium with the concession stands, the other one kind of behind a home run fence there. The request came in, probably initial conversations were maybe back in July, August, maybe, with some initial conversation about converting that field. And one thing I had mentioned at the start is we have to make sure Little League is on board because it's been a Little League field for 75 years. They put tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars into the field, and they have approved it. They're okay with it, with the caveat that we let them use what was their C field, that would become a Little League field. And for now, we thought we were gonna put grass on there, but now they're saying keep it as clay, so they're okay with that, and their board has approved it. And they're on board, so when, as Andrea mentioned, she came to the field committee, unanimously supported it. The board of, Dr. Freeman, and Jake, helping fund it. And then it's just last stop is here. I'm not sure so much, I mean, you can approve it, but I think that everyone who needs to has, and certainly, I think more for the commission to approve funding for this out of our program account. If you remember, we have in the program account, there's a line item for park/field improvements. And that's in there for money that we've raised from people paying to use the fields. Some of the groups that pay, and the money is to go back into fields, so it doesn't even have to come out of our budget, really. And excuse me, Mike.
What's involved in the conversion from
Okay, good question. So
baseball to softball?
So softball has to play on a clay infield. They can't have grass. It's grass right now. So we're gonna do the project in-house, and it's gonna cost us way less than tens of thousands of dollars less than if we had a contract it out. Tony and her crew can do most of the work. Public Works is gonna help us. But it'll be skimming off the grass and digging down about 12 inches. We're gonna put drainage pipes in there to connect with a catch basin that's already like 50 or 60 feet away. We'll tie into that. We put in some good draining stone, some good draining coarse sand, and then about 4 inches of clay on top of that. And grading it all out. And again, Public Works will help us with this. We're kind of ready to go. I mentioned to Andrew, we got to do it in November. That's the time to do it. It's got to get approved by Wetlands Commission. And their approval meeting won't be till December 13th. So I could almost guarantee in November, the weather's good, we could get it done. I can't guarantee December. We've talked about this. If we can't, we do it around the first week of April. So that's the only issue. If the weather allows, we'll do it. We can't do it if it's mucky or frozen ground or anything.
And so the cost for this total is,
So our estimate is about $12,000.
and the portions of payments from various payers are,
Okay, so Andrea and her group are gonna try to raise about $2,000, am I correct? So we're estimating it cost me 10,000. Board of Ed, or Dr. Freeman's committed 5,000 to it, and Jake. And so I think the request from this commission is I would say maybe 6,000 in case there's something else comes up. Once you dig, you don't know, so you hit something, but so I'm just asking the commission to approve $6,000. So once we get the okay from the Inland Wetlands Commission and the weather's good, we'll get a shovel in the ground the next day and start working on it.
I don't know much about it, but it's interesting to me. I never knew that softball was played on a clay field, so this is, but don't you have to keep that moist or something? Like, don't you have, how does it, so it doesn't
Well,
dry
we have
out?
several clay fields, the softball field at Gifford Lake School is clay, the
Okay.
Bidner C field is
Didn't
clay,
realize
the
that,
main
okay.
lighted field at Bidner is clay. So there is irrigation there.
Okay.
That's one of the things we do have to do. There's an irrigation line in the grass in the infield that we have to take out. So that's a little added cost, so not a lot, but we have to get that out and cap it off. And there's what's called a golf head right behind the pitcher's mound on these clay infields, and that just shoots out a lot of water to keep the dust down. Goes around like maybe twice, like 5 minutes, and keeps the dust down.
Okay, a couple questions. So Adams has two that I'm familiar with, Little League fields, one closest to the school, one behind it.
Correct.
So which one would be converted?
The farther one.
Farther one?
Yeah.
Okay, and now they're talking about taking over field C. Is that the one next?
That's Bidner,
Okay.
That's
Okay,
the one next to like the playground
right?
in Bidner.
and so they would take that over and, or they would take it over for who, or?
Well, so it'll be Little League, but softball could still use it because it'll be a clay infield. Right now, Little League, initially the request was, well, let's do a trade. And if we're gonna give up a grass field, give us a grass field. But at this point, they want to keep it as clay. Baseball can play on clay.
Yeah.
Softball can't play on grass.
Okay, another question is, so the only girls softball is at Adams? Is there like a league or something like that, or?
Oh, yeah. There's Little League softball, there's Little League softball.
Little League softball and
And then
Adams
also
Middle
high
School.
school and Adams.
Okay, so my question is, why don't you know, why doesn't the town? If Little League has their own field, why doesn't the girls softball have their own field?
Okay, the Little League softball does play on fields like Bidner C and at Lakes and at the high school now. But what is being discussed now is that the Adams girls, there are fields at Adams that the girls cannot play on because they are not set up for softball. So trying to get a home field for the Adams,
Okay, so you guys don't have a home field now?
no, and so the girls practice at the high school or at Bidner.
Okay.
So every day they get bused to the practice and to games, so their home games are at other places. And so since there are already fields used for another
Okay,
purpose now, they're wanting to change it to make it
so
accessible.
you guys have no home games?
We do, but we have to take our students at a home game, we have to get on a bus and take it to Bittner or the JV field. It could change based on what bus can.
Okay, so
fit
the
our-
the kids can't walk out the back door of Adams?
That's the one.
And that's true for
sport.
practice too, so.
Okay,
every
which,
day.
that doesn't, I don't like that. And second of all, I don't think you guys should be raising money. I mean, that's what we pay taxes for.
Well,
mean-
I think the premise of this is that and we appreciate you raising the money, but is that the Little Leagues have been raising so much money for all their fields that we felt it only prudent and fair if softball contributed as well to the
Adams
purpose.
softball.
That's-
It gets confusing the conversation.
personally,
Because there's Little League, like Little.
So we're not asking them to raise the entire amount, you know, over the years.
That's another day for another discussion. Personally, I don't think you should be raising money for something that that's what you're taxed dollars for, right? They need a place to play.
Well, the school sport, then we should actually ask Board of Ed for the 100% of
But
it,
it's
but what
beyond
we're
the school
working
sport.
together here to get the job done,
I get it.
you know?
Yes.
Yes.
I could get like, they want to put up a fancy scoreboard. Well, we're not gonna pay for a fancy scoreboard. Then I can understand, okay, raise money for a fancy scoreboard, but we're just talking about a field to play on.
Right.
I mean, the taxpayer should be paying for that.
Okay,
We did have that we have a softball community that came together for this. We had a meeting where we had over 20 people came, families, to kind of support what we were really trying to push. And at the end of the day, we did not want any delays or hangups because these kids are only in middle school for 2 years. So we didn't want any hangups and we said, how can we be part of this? How can we accelerate? How can we make it happen? Let's show that we're part of the solution.
Okay, all right.
And that's truly why. I honestly believe you, but we're also trying to show that we're that passionate about it, that we want to put up.
and we appreciate that, it's important and it's appreciative, thank you very much. So we need to, are we still discussing this?
Yes,
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
How long is it going to take to convert this? Are you talking 3-4 days worth of work, a couple of weeks worth of?
2 weeks back, but I think less than that.
And you think you can, I'm more concerned about if this gets held over to
We
April
won't
and
start
we're
if
trying
we
to
don't
do
get
all the
any finished.
April stuff, how in the world?
Right, it depends on what the weather forecast is, but
Yeah.
I think, Tony did a great job figuring out the, estimating the material costs. He knows how many square feet, how many cubic yards of clay, and he did all that figuring, and did a great job with it. But I'm confident Tony knows what he's doing, and Dave, the public works director, is outstanding, cooperating with us with a lot of different things, and between the two, we'll get it done, but again, I don't think we'll start it. If it's gonna take a week, and 2 days after we start, it's gonna be a blizzard, we'll wait.
No, I'm just more worried about if it gets put off till April when we're trying to get everything else done and we
That's why-
often do not have a lot of
That's why fall
manpower
is better.
here.
If we
to be
can do,
honest.
that's why I said if we could do November, it'd be great, but then we got the hang up, the
That's my concern.
stoppage, the hurdle with having to get through wetlands commission. It's because just off the third baseline, there's a little stream there, so it's 30 feet, 40 feet away maybe, so it's within the wetlands purview.
So
Is there-
forgive me for asking, but so Board of Ed is not contributing anything
No,
to?
No, they are.
5,000?
They would be 5,000.
Okay, thank you.
It was the.
Okay.
What if Wetlands does not approve this?
we'll cross that bridge when we come to
Yeah.
it. We're going to hope for the best.
Okay.
So then we'll know. Lawrence?
And down the line, down the future, can't we, shouldn't the girls have their own field? Like,
It's-
so the field closest to the basketball court at Adams, what's that used for?
That's big, that's 90-foot baseball, that's a big field.
Okay,
So
so is it feasible, they get their own field at Adams eventually, this is your field?
This one's.
This is gonna be,
talking
this is
about.
their
Well,
field.
no, this is a conversion, so the baseball's gonna be playing on it, and I'm just asking, Little League's playing on it, and also girls is it feasible that they get their own, this is your field?
Well, it's gonna be, so for the Adams team, I think if I'm right, Jake says about 5 games, right? Roughly 5 games for a year on there for the season.
That's
So
practice.
Little League girls could still use
Okay.
it. So it's still gonna be used.
Okay, good,
besides
so
for the
you
Adams.
clarified, so it doesn't make sense to have their own field if they're only gonna play 5 games?
Basically all the fields are shared within sports, whether it's the Little League or the middle school boys playing for the school and softball.
Your Bittner C is what we refer to as that. We have shared Bittner C with Adams softball and Guilford Little League. And you just maneuver around the home games that can kind of run a little. So
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And there's timing differences. Adams games are after school and practices, Little League's more in the
Okay.
evening, so we work together with the schedule.
So the issue of not having. This ideally should solve it.
All right, John? Did you have a comment?
I have several.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Go
Okay. First of all, I've probably been champion sports on my tenure for Parks and Recreation for my entire tenure. I look at this as something between needs and wants. Okay, do we need this? My answer to that is no. We have 5 dedicated softball fields already in Guilford. We have 2 at the high school. We have 2 at Bittner, and we have 1 at Guilford Lakes. Okay. The head coach for the Adams team, I chatted with him today and I asked him specifically, are your teams at a disadvantage for having to take a bus to either Bittner or to the now they're using the JV field because the buses, Jake Jarvis asked him to relocate because he could not get the bus schedule to accommodate them to go directly to Bittner any longer, but he could get them to the high school. We have a field up at the high school right now that's not being used. That's the JV field, okay? Because we don't have a JV high school program. We do have a varsity program, but we have not had a JV program for years.
That's a baseball field?
That's at the softball fields. That's the brand, when they went through the reconstruction of the high school, they built 2 brand new softball fields. Okay, one of them is dedicated for varsity, has a home run fence in it, and the other one is dedicated for non-varsity, either for practice or for JV play. Okay, that field is a magnificent field, okay, when they put it together. The only problem is, yeah, they lose a lot of foul balls that go over into the condominiums that they can't get because of the fence that is constructed there. So I'm using numbers here. So we have 5 already dedicated softball fields in town. Little League has 4 dedicated baseball fields. 2 at Adams, 2 at Bittner. 1 in Bittner is going to be taken away from them because it's going to be converted to a 50-70 field. Okay, so now that gives Little League 3 fields. You take 1 more field away from them for softball, that gives them 2 fields. Okay. As much as Little League would like to say baseball can be played on dirt, it's not supposed to be played on dirt. Just like softball is not supposed to be played on grass. Okay. Maybe for the little kids, dirt is insignificant inconvenience. But when you're playing at a higher level of baseball, like we're trying to encourage the Guilford kids to stay in Guilford to play higher level baseball, the field it needs to be appropriate. Sports in this town goes on cycles. When I first moved here 40 years ago, Little League baseball just ruled everything. Okay, it even surpassed soccer, which was kind of hard to believe, but it did. Eventually soccer moved up, baseball leveled out. Now we have lacrosse. Lacrosse has overwhelmed baseball. It has taken away significant numbers of what used to be baseball players are now playing lacrosse. When my older son was, he's 36 now, 37. When he played Little League baseball, we had 8 majors teams. Little League charter allows you to have 10. When my youngest, who is 7 years younger than him, when he played Major League Baseball, we had 10 teams. I mean, we maxed out. And in fact, it got to the point where Little League was going to look at us and say, if you add any more kids, you have to break up the league into 2 separate leagues because you're not allowed to have more than 10 teams with no more than 12 players per team. That's the way the charter reads for Little League International. So, but again, it runs in cycles. Last year, Guilford Little League, for the first time ever, did not field a travel team for the district championships. They only had 3 boys show up, mainly because of 2 things. One, because playing other sports, but also there are advanced leagues, which are defined by AAU. That's another governing body. And they take away the higher caliber players. Okay, so Guilford literally couldn't even find anybody that they could join with in order to submit what they call a combo team. 2 years ago, Guilford Little League girls were in the same situation with regard to softball, and they combined with East Hampton, and they had a travel team, but it was now, when it came to tournament time, they had to get the East Hampton girls to come all the way over to Guilford to practice, and then they had to play their games in the districts out at another location. So things go in cycles, and right now the cycle is very, very favorable for girls softball. They had a sensational year last year. The 9s and 10s won the state championship. The 11s and 12s won the district championship. That's unprecedented. It has never happened before. So I admire the fact that softball has become a much more positive sport within Guilford Little League. So the other thing that you have, I look at legacy also with regard to Guilford Little League. Not last year, 2 years ago, Guilford Little League hosted the state championships for 11 and 12s. And the reason is that there are 9 districts in Connecticut. Make it quickly, every district gets it on the rotation. District 9 chose Guilford playing fields because of several factors. One, because of the fields themselves, because of access to the highway, because people were coming from Fairfield County. And also we're coming from, the northern part of the state. We expand the parking for them by parking on the soccer field or the, field hockey field, which is kind of, thank God it doesn't rain during that time or that would be really chewed up. And also that we have a good concession stand that we were able to maintain for them. So if we go and, take the skin off, it's what they call it, skinning the field, take the grass off. We will never have that again. Because Little League International wants their players to play baseball on grass. They don't want them to play on dirt.
But with all the other fields, we don't have enough to do that.
Not the way that we have it centralized with 2 fields at one location. So that gives them that gives us the opportunity of centralizing where the play is and keeping everything manageable. Because this is a volunteer program and you need a lot of volunteers whenever you have district play or state play.
That's the question.
Sure.
They went to Little League and Little League says fine.
I understand that. No, please, I've been Little League for 40 years or 35 years since I've been.
The one thing I want to clarify, maybe Rick can, is the number of fields that are actually accessible for the different sports and where they are, just because I think there's been confusion in the conversations and with things changing and what was happening with Bittner B and we approved this and then what's happening with the travel team. Like, I think it would be helpful for everyone to have that laid out.
So, okay, that's good. So Bittner B, we've always said that Little League gets first priority. So if there's a travel team and there's not a 50-70 field, they're not gonna be able to play in Guilford.
But we committed to moving it to a 50-70 field.
We did, but that team left. The team we did it to is not in town. They're no longer.
Okay, so that's
it's
news to
not
me.
here.
That I didn't
That,
know.
we haven't, we approved that, but then we never discussed it.
So,
in here.
and that was one thing that Greg Valenti did say, he'd like to have the Bittner B, but it's not ideal because I like the 50-70. I've been pushing that for a number of years, but Little League would use it Monday through Thursday. It would still be available for Friday and weekends. If we want to convert it to a 50-70 for the weekend, we could do that. I mean, we did it for years at Adams. We have to do that we can. The other selling point for Greg Valenti, who's the president of Little League, is that at Adams, I think he said 4 nights every spring they lose out because of concerts and other things going on, parent nights. They can't use the field, there's no parking. There's way more parking at Bittner. They're never gonna have that problem. They're never gonna have to close because of a conflict like they have at Adams. The amenities, which I was trying to sell the girls softball this year on, the amenities at Bittner are better, more parking. There's a playground for the little siblings to play on while their brother or sister are playing Little League. And the bathroom facility, we just put $40,000 into that bathroom facility. It's a much better, I think. I've been in the ladies' room at Adams. Overall, it's a better facility. And I think Little League's looking at long term, that becomes the complex. I mean, it's already a Little League complex anyway, but that becomes the Little League complex instead of Adams. They'll still use Adams, they're not giving up Adams, they're still gonna play there. But I think to your point, John, and they're also, I just gave them a quote, they're looking to put a home run fence on the Seafield, there's room to do it. And if that becomes grass, then there'll be 3 grass fields at Bittner, so they could better host tournaments there. Again, more parking, everything else. I think Greg is looking at all that as a big picture long term.
Well, I'm looking at it from a pragmatic standpoint, is that we have spent, and I've been part of the fundraising for Guilford Little League forever because we had an agreement in place with Parks and Recreation that you initiated, that whatever improvements Parks and Recreation put into place for the Adams Field, Little League had to contribute into that fund. And we have put in tens of thousands of dollars for improvements from irrigation to fencing to everything. And so for 4 or 5 games a year, I don't see the payback on it, especially when we have fields that are already dedicated for softball that are not being used.
Okay, so let's regroup and we'll get to you and then we'll get to Lawrence and then to Tara.
We keep talking about Guilford Little League. I just want to make it clear that Guilford Little League is, as far as I understand, baseball and softball.
That's true.
So when we keep referring to baseball, it's actually baseball and softball, it's boys and girls, and I think that needs to be remembered. Second thing is we're also talking about a quality of the Adams softball team. Because Little League likes the convenience of having 2 grass infields to host all-stars, which by the way, Guilford Little League softball can never do that because we don't have a fence, but I'll get to that. The fact that we're gonna make that a priority over the equality of the Adams softball girls playing on a home field, to me is disgraceful.
There's been no decision yet. We're offering as a commission to hear all the thoughts of all.
I guess that's, it bothers me a bit to hear that, because I think to say, well, you guys could get on a bus, and I know you have 30 minutes less to do your homework, and you have 30 minutes less to start and all this other stuff, because we want to keep these as baseball Little League and not, and another thing I'd like to talk about too, is we talk about, you said how the skimming of fields, I can tell you Middletown and Coggins have extremely reputable programs for Little League. And they host all-stars, and they both have skim fields for baseball. So I'm not sure why Guilford would be at a different level on why we wouldn't get it, but they would get to host.
Okay, so Lawrence?
Yes. Where do the Adams girls practice?
They take a bus to either the JV field or Bittner, whichever bus will allow them to fit.
Okay. I personally have heard enough discussion, and I don't know if anybody else here has heard of.
Well, has everyone?
I mean, all I was gonna say is
Yeah.
continue with what you were saying, is just to clarify, it is 5 games, but it's practiced every day. And all due respect to Coach, you know, he's not the one who's getting on the bus with all the stuff and riding over back and forth every day. And I think it is a lot for the, you know, it delays the time. I mean, I hear about, it's just, I think it's a little stressful for all of them, and it's not, it's their school where they could be playing.
So we're gonna hear from Michael because we haven't heard from him yet.
Do any other teams that are associated with to travel or anything?
practice.
For games, for practice, in general?
Yeah, the high school boys soccer team, they practice at Lee. The girls practice at Log Hill Park.
But their
The
games,
boys, they all used to play all their home games at Binder because it was just the best field in town. But now they play at the high school because they got the synthetic turf field.
Okay, so so let's go back to the facts. We know what we want to convert the field at Adams, and the Little League has approved this.
Unanimously.
But that's not Little League's.
Okay,
Little League
I'm
has
just going
accepted
to
it.
the
Well,
facts.
it's a Board of Education.
Well, they've
approved
it.
Okay. May I finish, please?
I want to get the facts straight.
I
It's a
agree.
Board of Education field, which Little League is allowed to use for their games.
We gave them first choice to say, no way, Jose, because of all that they have put into it. And they have agreed that they would like to do this.
It's just a
That's
change,
one.
it's just a change of
Board of
administration.
Ed has agreed to do it. Standing Fields has agreed that this is okay. So the vote is whether the commission agrees not to doing this, but to supporting the amount of money, the $6,000 to fund.
How much, Laura?
It's $6,000
$6,000.
to come from our program account.
Okay.
Am I right, Rick? So we're not necessarily, is it our remit to approve this as Park and Rec? First, the actual thing to do.
I think we need to approve it with the money.
With the money.
Sure.
Okay, so we need somebody to please make a
Can
motion.
I make a motion?
Okay, get it right.
All right, that Park and Rec
It keeps me on my toes.
approve $6,000 at the program account to help with the conversion of one of the Little League fields at Adams to softball.
Second. We've had our discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Wait.
What?
And I always, you know where I always go? I always go with the cost to maintain. Anything that we do, where does the cost come to maintain the field?
Well, it's not a new field,
It's
so
just
it's
a change.
already maintained.
Right,
Yeah.
clay versus
But there's
grass, and
already-
I'm totally on board of everything you're saying. I just, you know me, I always ask the question, the maintenance going the years forward. Does that fall on Park and Rec cost? Does that fall on Board of Ed
Well,
cost?
we main all the
It's,
fields.
okay, it's like a swap.
Yeah, it's a swap.
Okay.
But it's
So
not a
what it-
big, I mean,
yeah.
it's running the ball field machine, grooming clay versus a mower to mow the grass and a ball field machine to groom the clay. So it's two different operations. It's one operation now, really. It's just ball field machine, no mowing.
Thank you.
And we mow the outfield, but not the infield.
Okay, so back to the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So noted. Abstained? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And John, I do appreciate your comments. I found them actually quite interesting.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep.
They're
But
important.
non-persuasive.
Hey, you win some, you lose some. We appreciate as a commission that everybody has their view.
I don't deny the idea of trying to improve fields along, well, what the current sports are asking for. Okay, I just look at the fact that we are subtracting from an existing program. And I think you'll be surprised, maintaining a dirt field is actually more expensive than maintaining grass. Especially after rain. Especially when you have rivulets.
Can I pipe in here? We've already discussed it. We'll move on, Steve.
I'm sorry, Lawrence.
We've already voted on, we've already discussed it. Let's go to the agenda.
All about, I'm on this commission to represent the taxpayers.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That's me personally, and if anyone's gonna say to me, and I'm gonna say it out loud because it bothers me.
Yeah.
That move forward, because that's what I'm supposed to say, then I should be on this
Yeah,
commission.
I'm just
And
saying
I
that
respect John saying what he says, because
we
I
have
said
an
things
agenda,
in the
we have
past
an
too,
agenda here.
that,
We've already talked about it. It's over. We voted on it. Let's go to the next item. If I'm wrong, tell me.
now inland wetlands.
Chairperson,
has to
tell me
refer
if I'm
this,
wrong.
correct? Is that correct?
Right,
Where
so
we
it's
have
all
a claim for inland
subject
wetlands.
to the approval of inland wetlands.
Our final step to get it approved.
Thank you very
Obviously,
much.
Wetlands, right? We just gotta make sure.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thank you for
joining
your
us.
time. I appreciate it.
And for all the effort you've made so far.
Yes.
Good luck with.
Thank you. Thank you again.
So next on the agenda, excuse me. Toby, is review and approval of the October 2023 expenditures. Let me make the motion to approve the
I
expenditures.
have one question.
We're going to discuss it. So move second.
I have a question.
We're going to
We're doing
discuss
the
it.
motion.
I'm doing the motion first, and then we'll second it.
Sorry.
Second, Tara. Okay, discussion?
I just have a question on. I just feel like everybody has a voice. Let it be. On page, let's say, I think it's the last page. No, it's the second to the last page, the Miriam and Ricky. Just wondered, under description, what that was, $5,130. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was, we had to stain the ceiling of the, we just redid the roof at Victor Pavilions at Jacobs. It really, the ceiling underneath should be stained every 5 years. We've never done it. So they had to pressure wash it. They stained both of them, and then they stained the, at no extra cost of the, change rooms. They really look nice. If you go down, they look beautiful. But that's what that was. We got 3 quotes.
I just didn't know who Miriam and Ricky were, though.
That's my
Just wanted to make sure.
There was one thing I want to make, there was one correction on page, the second page. It was all those regional restroom ones.
Yes,
There's
that-
one for Seaside Ave, that $80 that
Yeah.
they're not paying because they were billing us for a porta light there. We had asked them to take it out in September. They're billing us for it. I'm sorry, end of August, we asked them to take it out. They're billing us for it in September, October. So I told them we're not paying that. So the bottom line of the back page would be $80 less, is the 134,082. Is, would take the $80 off, it's 134,002.88. So we're saving $80.
So, any other discussion?
Yes, while we're on the discussion of porta potties, there are a lot of them. We have in our budget for Guilford High School and for, well, for one thing, Guilford High School.
Yes, we have, I think, 4 up there, 3 or
Yes.
4, we have a couple.
Okay,
more.
that falls under our purview.
Yeah, we've always paid for it. Yeah, there's one at tennis courts, baseball field, I think 2 by the football field.
Right, or 2 by the football.
And I'll also ask again, because I ask this every now and then, when are we done with the Guilford High School utilities bill?
I think we've been asking it 7 years now.
Or why are we not, why is there not?
It's not, my understanding is it's still doing the audit. Yeah, I don't know why it takes so long, but I've asked them to the finance department periodically.
So a couple more questions. Who is Miriam and Ricky? They friends?
That's what they
Just
said,
ask,
that was
just
the
look at
stating of the,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I must have missed that, okay. And the second thing, the last thing is, okay, we go through a lot of money for porta potties for the groups. Is there a, is it better just to farm it, excuse me. That's not the right. Subcontracted versus us owning our own and then just having somebody to,
We'd have to empty it.
no,
clean it.
no, you still pay somebody to, but the rental includes the physical
does.
box. I mean,
Yeah,
is the physical box something that we could purchase, that we could maintain, that we could own of our own? Rather than renting them,
I think this month, like I had added up, I think it was like 33.50 or something.
yes, so it was over, yeah.
It's probably just store them locally.
well, well, we don't have 33, some of these are 2 months on here, we don't have
Gotcha.
33 units, I think
Perfect,
it's
that makes me feel
90
better.
maybe.
Great.
I'd have-
Well, I don't know, that's why I'm asking, I don't
Thanks
know
for
if it's feasible to do it, but it's just a question that came across my mind when I saw the expenses.
I wonder what the difference is between owning and having them empty versus renting.
I know of a couple schools up in Hartford that Cromwell's one of them, where they own their own and they pay a contractor to come in.
Right.
And to empty them and clean them, but the box belongs
To
to
the-
the school system. So I was just curious as if there is a methodology for that.
Next week takes research. I mean, she makes a good point about,
What
mean,
we
they're
cost
still
of
gonna charge
it,
you
and then again.
Oh, absolutely.
so it could be these things
$90
just out.
Cause when they clean them out, it's taken out, it's basically vacuuming out everything that's inside, all the, it's their blue, like whatever is in there, you whatever you put in it, and all that comes out and they replace it, so.
Then where do we wanna store these all winter? I mean, I don't know if it's worth it in the end.
I'm
It
just
takes some
asking for
research.
what if.
I just- yeah, I understand, but I
Probably
think,
not
you
that
know,
expensive. We don't know how
research
long they
it.
last.
I don't think we should get in the porta potty.
Yeah, I don't think.
That's my thought. I don't know if we want to be in the bottom,
Yeah,
but
just
it's
another
up to,
shore.
it's up to Park and Rec and your team to decide what's best. Use that.
We can then start renting them out.
So is that all the discussion on that? So can somebody make now the motion is to approve $134,002.88 with a change of the $80. Okay, so actually, I made the motion.
We made the motion.
I made the motion, so all in favor to approve
Aye.
with the change, excellent. Thank you. So we're gonna, go on to department reports. And we'll take them as read unless Rick or anyone has any discussion or questions.
No, but the senior fair was well attended this year, probably up to pre-COVID numbers. I think the seniors did pretty well.
Excellent.
Of the reports.
I saw that in the series report, did I see?
Yeah.
That it went really well and what they made on it, so,
We actually made a little. It's on, exactly.
No, I don't have it in.
And then the shift for the rain, for the spectacular, went really well. It was
Well, you
very,
know what?
it was great inside. Kudos, I mean, I know Rick sent thank you notes, but kudos to Ellen and Tara for coming in and getting all these tables and getting everything set up.
It was
Sunday morning, last minute to get this whole thing put together for, on a rainy day. So I know last time, I didn't come this year, but last time it rained, it was a lot of people. A lot of people, I think too.
I don't
But
think
it
I've
was
ever
very
seen so
well
many
organized,
people.
yeah.
do it.
All right,
Kudos for them to coming in
do you have any
early.
comments or questions or any comments you want to bring out on any of the?
I don't think so. I mean, everything's there pretty much, but I echo what, we have a great staff. I mean, that weekend was spectacular, which is, well, we said that Saturday was the senior fair. And,
Senior fair.
Terry and Larry and I think Ian was here and just, senior staff, working that, with Rose a volunteer, and, you know, so many volunteers to make that, and that's, I think, the largest crowd I think I've seen in a long time. You
Yeah.
agree, Rose? For the
I
senior
was gonna say, I
fair?
think it's back to pre-COVID. It's.
Yeah, it's been, you know, very
We
good,
need 'em.
and then it's spectacular, like, it was spectacular. I've never seen so many people in this building. And that was a quick changeover, you know.
I was
10 in
saying
the morning.
kudos to Todd. I mean,
And Todd was,
We need
both,
take
he was
it
here
down.
Saturday helping out, he was here Sunday, came in. And then Friday night was this past Friday night was our, senior harvest dance, 90 seniors came. Savannah, who's our new, assistant to Terry, what's her title, office assistant. Patty retired a week ago. And Savannah, she was here a week and she stayed the whole time as a volunteer, helping out. She didn't get paid for it. She stayed to help serve and to help clean up at the end. Our new program
Olivia.
coordinator, Olivia, who just started
Olivia.
that Monday, she was here for a couple hours Friday night helping out. So, and of course, Larry and Jenny were here in the kitchen. The dedication of our staff is just amazing, you know, Tony does so many things beyond what he ever gets paid for. And he was gonna come in Sunday to line ball fields for a couple of games. He was sick, he couldn't come in. He doesn't get paid to come in. None of the full guys would come in. He couldn't get anybody to come in on overtime. He was gonna come and cover it. But this is the kind of people we have. And, you know, I've been blessed to work with a great staff over all the years here. I think the commissioner, at least most of them. Maybe one, not.
So I will, just one last plug for the lunch on the Thanksgiving lunch on the 17th. If you have never come to that and seen this staff do karaoke, you are missing. Seriously, they are hilarious.
Yeah, Terry's got me
So
excited.
if you have, oh, they planned this months ahead of time. So if you are able to come that day, you ought to, even if you don't come for lunch, just come and watch the karaoke because they are great. And we laugh a lot.
Okay, we're gonna move
It's not
on
a day where they
to
need service.
report of commissions, start with standing fields.
I was unable to attend, so.
Most of the discussion was what we just went through tonight.
Okay, so we
The
can-
same women and a few others came to the standing field committee and two representatives from Little League, including the president, were there, and they all chatted quite a bit about that. It was the main thing.
Okay, thank you. Green Committee,
No meeting.
okay. Land Act,
I was there. I really don't know what I can.
you
Nothing.
probably can't add anything, because most of it's all executive session.
That's what I mean. I'm-
Right, so there's
Yeah.
nothing to report. It's usually what we say just about every month. It is interesting. Okay, moving on to, let's go, our favorite and yours, Jacob Septic Improvements.
Not much more to report, other than we are going to standing building committee meeting tomorrow night, just to have them put their final stamp of approval on the plan. I've informed the engineer that I'm retiring at the end of December, that I want this done before I go. It's not a loose end, I want to leave out there. And so I'm gonna just push as much as I can, we gotta get it done.
Shaded the splash pad?
Again, no report on that. I did talk to Will Thompson last week. He is still working on prices. His daughter just had twins recently,
Oh,
so he's been spending a lot of time being a grandpa, so I get it. I understand.
jealous.
So, but again, it's an old loose end. I told him, well, I'm retiring the end of December. I'd like to at least get it to planning and zoning before I go. But I'll have
Pickleball,
to stay around.
pickleball court expansion?
Pretty much done. Have you played on the new court?
I didn't play on it, I looked at it.
So it's done, but it's not painted yet. It's too cold to paint the surface now. They put lines now so you can play. Brad, Mike, you've been out there, right?
Looks great.
They, and then with your suggestion, the space between the current pickleball courts and the new one, was that stone area there? They put asphalt there.
That's great.
I thought they were gonna put like synthetic turf carpet down, but actually I was way on vacation when Tom emailed me and said, well, we can pave it if you want. He said, you can't charge me anymore. You only charge whatever you said you're gonna do. You can't. So they did it for the same price they were gonna do the other thing. And skate park was moved last week. Our crew and the two guys from Public Works, one Dave Castro was the Public Works director. He was there physically helping move it. he came up with a great idea. So they had their big loader with the forklifts to lift it up. But we rented for $300, I think, for 10 rolls. What do you call them?
Dollies.
A dolly, like a.
Dollies. And they just lift them up just to put them on the dollies, and then with 3 or 4 of us, on top of them too. Like I did very little, they did it. They pushed the whole thing, just didn't even have to lift it, just put it on enough to get it on the dolly underneath and it rolled it. Brilliant idea. It was so much easier and no back breaking work or anything. And got them, you know, right where Tony put string lines down, so they got them exactly where they wanted to go and, you know, lined up and everything. Did a great job with it. So I really want to give kudos to Mark Mizuko and Dave Castro from Public Works being out there helping our crew out. It was relatively simple doing it. There's some stuff we had to take apart to unbolt, you know, some of the big ones, but you know, then we got it back together and guys bolted them back up.
Rick, it sounds like you made a decision not to put a fence between the basketball court and the skate park.
Right. We didn't want to segment the whole thing off. If the commission wants to change that in the future, we can, but we thought it would be segmented so much because you'd have 3 fences, pickleball, basketball fence, and then another fence. It would just look like cages. So we decided to go with just the one. And talking with pickleball players, they said to put it by the permanent pickleball courts.
But definitely, if you're gonna have one, you put it in the right spot.
Yeah.
But my concern is that basketball court is gonna be chewed up just like it was last time. Just gonna happen. Because once you don't have a fence, skateboarders think they can just go over there, right around, then you gain some speed, and come back in. And it just tears up the court. So I mean, if we're willing to accept that's what's gonna happen, because it will, then that's what's gonna happen.
That will happen. They can go on the pickleball court too, right? I mean, they go.
Yeah, but they have
So just an opening in the gate like that, they can still go over there.
they have a whole bunch of old people yelling at them.
I have a question about when skateboarders are on there. We talk about when it's painted. Do you just mean, I remember the logo got all messed up, but are you talking about painting actually like the court and the lines got messed up or just the logo?
The logo got messed up, but mostly that was.
But I mean, because in a way, like, I don't know, does it have to be there? You know what I mean? Like if it makes it look junky because there's a logo there, maybe if it's sort of okay, if maybe they're on the court sometimes, you know, on skateboards, it doesn't ruin it except for the logo.
And we don't have to put the logo on. I think he's willing to do that, but maybe we don't do it.
Cause it would,
That's probably a good idea.
you know,
Because that's the thing that came up first.
Okay, so no logo.
I mean, we're not saying it that we're saying, yeah, it's an extra part of your skate park, but you know,
No,
like.
we're not encouraging it.
Right.
Right, so does the pickleball,
Everybody understand it does damage the rest of the court too, but
Yes.
not,
No, I know,
not
but
at the rate
Right,
that the logo.
yeah.
That showing up in
it
2 weeks.
just,
That's an attractive nuisance.
When you say damage, is it actually damage the surface of the basketball court?
that's what I was wondering.
or just the
It's paint. It's more than paint. Paint
Okay,
goes
so
on.
just paint.
Yeah.
All right.
So then it seems like.
All right.
maybe we don't have to logo.
I think, so does the pickleball court expansion stay on this until the painting?
So it's
is
done
done?
other than painting, and then it'll come back in the spring and do that.
Right, so does it stay on unfinished business?
It's up to you.
You can feel like you're checking things off
Yeah.
quickly if you leave it.
I like it. Okay, let's get rid of it. Get rid of it next time. Well, no, let's leave it on because you're gone in the spring. And we're gonna need to remember that it needs to be painted. So someone's gonna have to. So, okay. Tree planting at the community center.
You need to
That
just-
is
Cut in scoreboard.
Oh, Sorry, I missed that. Sorry, shed and scoreboard at Lone Hill.
The shed is in, the scoreboard, we just heard today, they're planning on getting that delivered, I hope to get it in on November 14th.
That'll go. Tree planting at community center.
That's on hold. I spoke with John Cunningham today. At this point, he said he wants to wait till the spring to.
Okay, 5-year capital budget, which we all have a copy of.
Yep, the presentation is Thursday, November 16th at, well, I don't know exactly what time. We're in a group, that start at 10:30, we're the last in that group. It includes Public Works, facilities, somebody else and us, so my guess is, it'll be more like 11:30 maybe, something like that, but, we have more requests than anybody, not necessarily the biggest dollar amount. One fire truck is whatever,
Yeah.
$20 million, you know, whatever it is. Might be a little exaggeration, but we have 45 items. It's a lot. I mean, no one else has nearly that much, but we, you know, as you know, we divide them up by community center, parks, and fields and equipment.
And we're the best commission, so they say the best.
But that's
ones.
why.
Okay, moving on to new business. Lawrence, I think this one's you. Vehicles driven for kayak, drop off, pickup at Jacob's Beach.
Yeah, I mentioned this in passing a while ago, but, and I'm sure it obviously happens a lot more. I'm not down there 24/7, but I was down there a few weeks ago and somebody had driven their pickup truck down the stone dust path right next to the playground. And I'm sure this has been going on ever since the racks are there. Obviously, we can't post something. We can't post somebody down there to prevent it. But I mentioned this before, but we should put something, anytime we send out any kind of correspondence
How about
to the kayaks, and I just got one that says your kayak's gotta be out there by no risk. We need to put something in bold block letters. Any correspondence we send to people regarding kayaks is that, you know, you are to unload and load your kayaks from the parking lot. You are not to drive to the kayak racks. Because this is like the beginning of the year. I was taking my kayak back. It was a busy day. This knucklehead, I'm on the rack and I look up, there's a pickup truck right in front of me.
Yeah.
And it is his pickup truck, we had a busy, I think it was a weekend. I'm like, and I said something, like, what are you doing here?
And it's right past the playground.
Yeah.
I've been there when that
They
happened
drive,
too.
and, you know, I don't know, Rick, maything else you could, I mean,
Wait,
post a
why not
sign
something
there?
that can just go in the middle, that can be
Yeah, so
moved
we
if like
block it, goes straight.
our people needed to, move it. Do you know what I mean? Like if.
Or some of those granite obelisks posted, but they get around.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is, I mean,
That's like so deliberate then, if there's something blocking it, you go around, so that would at least deter some people, not.
Do you have machinery that needs to get down there to?
We have to get in for things we have to do, but it's laziness, you know, and
It is.
I agree, we really can't put a sign, because signs, I always say, don't work unless we read them and abide by them, and they don't.
And they don't.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, but I think I agree, though, if we remind people with the reminders, you gotta get your kayak.
you'd have to put signs all over by the basketball courts, because they could drive it, you'd be putting up a million signs.
Is
But
there an app, there's an application
There is.
to apply?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
is
I
it,
can't
I
remember
tick the box,
It just says that on the
I
application.
promise not to drive on.
So if you have to not just pay your money, but
Yeah, and
agree to the
and I
rules, so
think,
you can
I
come
said,
back.
just to repeat, anything we send out regarding kayak rack, we should say, you are to load or unload and load your kayak from the parking lot. You are not to drive over to the kayak racks. And if you do, you're,
Just
Put a fine in there.
yeah, if you do, your pass is subject to be revoked.
And $1,000 fine.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, he drove his pickup truck down the path next to the parking lot. I was like,
I've seen it too.
All right,
I'm done. Thank you.
We don't have to rent.
okay, so we'll
Yeah.
do that. Excellent. Let's move right on to basketball court lighting at emergency services. So we'll have to vote on something here.
So,
Is this the $14,500?
I met with the police chief, Tony and I did, you know, 2 months ago, and with a representative from Moscow Lighting at the basketball courts over there at the emergency services. So the current system, I'm trying to remember when we put those in. I think it was in the late 90s or early 2000s. I can't remember now. It's been a long time. But when the lights are on, they stay on. If it's raining or whatever, they're on. They don't shut off unless a police officer has to go out, unlock a box, go in and turn a switch off, on and off. So what we want to do is similar to what we have at the high school tennis courts and what we just did at Adams. It's a push button. They only go on if you're going to play. The lights are off. But if you want to play, you push a button, the lights come on for 50 minutes. You go on for an hour, but after 50 minutes, a little yellow light flashes, warning, in 10 minutes, we're going off. So you're not in the middle of a shot or going to dunk and now you're in darkness. So you can push the button again, it'll go on for another hour or 50 minutes. But the overriding clock, let's say we set it to 10 o'clock at night, you can push the button all you want at 5 after 10, they're not gonna come on. The brains of the system say, we're not going on, you can push all you want. But the beauty of it is, it's only gonna lit up if somebody's playing,
Mhm.
so we're not,
We're not always with that light.
that's
Could
the other
save
part, is we start
electricity.
talking about budget, they also are asking us to take over the cost of paying that electric bill. The police department's been paying it forever, ever since we put them in there. I think it makes sense as a recreational den, we pay for the lights at the tennis courts at the high school, we pay for their lights. I think it makes sense, but no matter who's paying for it, there's electricity being used when it doesn't have to be. And the inconvenience of, having to call a cop off the road, they're not just sitting in the police department, somebody has to come back, it's raining out, remember to go to, if they're busy, they're not doing it. And Matt told me this morning, or messaged this morning that, yeah, I've had a lot of calls, people complaining it's raining out, the lights are on, how come the lights are on? So they're only gonna go out if somebody's playing. So the Board of Selectmen approved this morning, assuming you approve tonight, that we make this change. It's $14,500 for Musco to change it over. It's also a program that can go on a phone, so that, remotely we can turn them on and off if we want to. I don't see a lot of need to do that, because if no one's playing, they're not gonna be on anyway. So I think over time, there'll be some cost savings doing this. And, again, I think it's something we can take out of the program account to pay for this. And the Board of Selectmen unanimously approved allowing us to go forward with Musco if the commission approves it tonight. I went to them this morning, because otherwise we're waiting another 2 weeks to get it.
So let's make the motion and then we'll do the discussion. So motion
I'd be happy to make the motion that we do this. I think it's a
to
great idea.
approve.
Plus it limits the people, the amount of time.
We're gonna have discussion, you said,
They're in the middle of the night.
So you make a motion to approve $14,500 from our program account. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, Lawrence.
yes, Rick, how long has lights been up there?
Oh, my God.
Well, since the courts are in, I can't remember if we put them in late 1990s or early 2000s. I can't remember. That was a Parks and Rec project. We did that.
Yeah,
We did one court first, and then the demand, we did the second one.
Yeah.
And, the lights might have gone in after the second one.
Somebody
donated
the money for the lights.
We got some money for it, yeah, from youth basketball, I think, yes.
so my question is like how many more years are we gonna get out of these lights?
Oh, gosh, I mean, the light bulbs, we have to, periodically we have to change, but the poles will be there. They're metal. They're gonna be there a long time.
Yeah, so the lights, it's not like the lights in the next 5 years, we're gonna have to replace them. Okay, all right.
Is there a likelihood of the police department, is it police or fire department wanting to get rid of those courts again?
Not like-
Let's hope
I
that's
think- I
that's
think-
not gonna.
I think it's a put to bed issue.
I think so. Any other discussion?
that's,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Good, motion carries. Next is the quarterly program account report. We agreed that we would come back and discuss our program account or tell you where it stands every quarter. The unallocated funds in our program account have been reduced by 34.61%. This number includes the subsidy that we were told of $45,000, $3,051.86, which was the subsidy of the senior lunches from the last fiscal year. Because that had to come out of that account and hasn't actually been zeroed out yet. And that was what they said we had to subsidize. It does include the first 2 months of the subsidy for the senior lunches of $2,903.97. So we no longer have any money coming from the town to subsidize the senior lunches. Our program account's doing it. The first 2 months of the year is about $3,000 from that program account. Okay, we don't have October numbers yet, okay? And in addition to that, the administrative fee, we're calling it, which is the 2.5% from certain programs, youth camp, audit, adult and senior programs will reduce our fund by an additional $1,879.24. This began that 2.5% that they're taking from those programs started in mid-August, so it's not a whole quarter reflective amount. But again, I believe that
So subsidizing the senior lunches is basically costing us about $3,000.
2 months.
For 2 months.
two-
For 2 months. And then
That's
it,
not bad.
and it may go up in other months, it may go down, and you
No, I
know, it's kind of
understand,
hard, we don't have the October numbers, and this will all be coming, I'm gonna do a little grid as we go along, so you can see the percentages, et cetera, this was the first one.
Yeah.
The,
gives us an
the
average.
programs that are not assessed, the 2.5 per fees are events, trips, senior meals, obviously, the meals, park improvements and SSIL.
Sills,
Sills.
right. Senior is Charlotte Institute for Lifelong Learning.
So we are working on getting that fund balance down. And now what we're looking at it quarterly, at least with, especially with the lunches coming out of it, we will have a better idea where we stand and how much we have to get down until we reach our budget of, did we say 200,000? We wanted to keep 200,000 in there for eventualities. So that's that report. Any questions on that? It's kind of hard to take in, but I can,
I think when you spreadsheet, it'll be a little more.
yeah, so next time after
As
we
we go,
go,
when you're
yeah.
highlighting
So,
what
yeah,
better
and
sense.
what was odd is that 45,000 is definitely gonna reduce our balance. So I took it out of our balance to come up with a percentage, because even though it was last fiscal year, it hasn't come out of our program account. So I took that number out. So hopefully we will see, well, we won't see next time. So that's that. And then the final thing we have to deal with tonight is, we kind of want to set our beach pass and boat racks, because apparently some people like to buy boat racks for Christmas presents or whatever. So I think we'll start with beach passes. We want to know if the commission wants to increase the fees or decrease the fees. So in 2023, I mean, I have the fees for 21, 22, and 23. How far back do you want me to read them all?
So I think it's 23.
Just 23? Yeah. Okay, 23, a resident 55 plus was $15. Non-resident was $30. Resident was $35.
Non-senior
No,
resident.
we're talking senior, a non-resident senior was $30.
$30, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's-
not, doesn't say that here.
Right.
Senior, thank you.
Right.
And then a resident was 35
Right.
and non-resident was 8.
How often have we increased the fees?
So last year, we went up $10 on the non-resident. The resident stayed the same. The non-resident senior went up by 5. And we went up by 5 with resident senior.
I think we could leave it, I think we could leave it for another year personally.
Okay,
Didn't we, I know we raised the price on the boat racks.
wait, we're getting the boat racks next.
Oh, I'm sorry, but on all of these here, didn't we, have we already raised it?
That was last year.
That was last year. We're talking about for going forward.
Yeah, I know that, but we're gonna raise them.
We're not,
Just
we're
discussing it.
discussing it, okay?
I suggest that we not raise the beach fees. That's.
Okay, all in favor, who does not want to
I have
raise
one
the
question.
beach fees?
Is it possible we could do something when we get our boat rack to have a combination boat rack beach pass? Because as it is, I always think that's kind of
Frankly,
weird.
if you use your boat pass. you
Well,
need
I know, but there has to be for my beach pass.
to use your boat rack.
Yeah,
Or-
well, I
or
mean,
if
if
we
you have,
want
if you have a boat rack pass, it's supposed to be for the boat rack, but
It's not for access to the beach.
I mean, if somebody's there and they're using the beach,
What are they
they're not
gonna do?
getting kicked out.
No, I know, I just, it doesn't.
But the other way
seem
around.
fair, you know,
Yeah,
That's all.
Let's just keep
There's,
it
there's,
easy. and
there's no
separate.
way in the world you're gonna be able to monitor that.
Yeah, so let's just keep, I think, keep it separate for now. So do we agree we'd like to keep the funds, the fees for the beach passes the same as last year, or increase or decrease?
I would like to
The
keep it the
same.
same.
The
Same.
same.
We did increase last year.
Consensus seems to be we keep it.
Okay, everybody agreed the same.
Same.
Anyone really hate the idea?
you know, revenue was good last year.
It was good, yeah.
was.
Okay,
a lot of
so
passes,
it's the same
I mean,
as
last year we really discussed it and went over.
So the
maybe
boat
it was-
racks. Boat racks for,
Well, the pavilions.
well, next is the boat rack. $80 residents in 21, 160, 80, 160, and then in 23, we moved it from 90 to 180. So 90 for residents, non-residents, 180.
What, are you talking about pavilions or boat racks?
Boat racks.
Yeah, I,
So we're up $10 for residents, $20 for we doubled for non-residents.
Right.
There aren't many non-resident boat racks, they're almost all residents, and remember, we keep building more, we're kind of racked out, I don't think there's room for
Yeah,
anymore.
really.
Yeah.
Down there, but you know, we have 250, I think now. We had 50 in 1991, now we have 250. So,
So we raised it up $10 and $20 last year, from last year to this year.
And we added a new rack too, right?
Right.
Two new racks.
So are we
So-
inclined to keep those the same or raise the price or
again, I
go
would,
down?
I would say keep.
Yeah, I think keep the
I
same.
keep the same too. Life is tough out there for people. Okay, same, and then we move to the pavilion. So between 22 and 23, we changed, it's very hard to compare because we changed the structure of the timing. We gave them different timings. So last year for a resident, it was $90 to rent the pavilion. Non-resident was $180. And that was for 3 hours, which gave us 3 time slots during the day.
that was a pretty big increase, because before, we did it by, if you had 1 to 25 people, it was $60 for 4 hours. So we went to $90 for 3 hours, it was a pretty big increase.
I was gonna ask how that went over and also that we put in slots where
Yeah.
before you could have someone mess up the whole day for someone if they put, at the wrong time before.
The
How
slot
does
space
work?
is a good idea.
Yeah,
And we're talking about, maybe we should start thinking about that for room reservations here too. We're not probably at where we need to do that yet. We might eventually have to do that too, because again, you could have, we have 3 time slots now, 6, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. Before, it might have been 2.
Yeah.
Depending if somebody had it from, 11 to 4, you can only do 1 more after that. Now we have 3 slots, so it really makes it more available to people. By
Did
doing
it
it time
affect the
slots.
rental this year? Did having the slots and the limiting to 3 hours affect the people? Did we find that people were not renting it because? of
I
this?
think, no, I don't think so. I think, but sometimes people were renting it for 6 hours. They
Yeah.
wanted
They would
2
take two
time
slots.
slots,
Oh,
they
yeah.
had twice.
Right.
Or they rented both pavilions, they wanted the whole place.
But you said we were full pretty much most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds fun.
Every day, Savannah was putting 4 or 5 reservations on my desk. Wow, how many do we have any left? But yes,
So are we in favor of same, decreasing, or increasing?
Keep it the same.
Same. So we're gonna keep everything
same.
the same across the board this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yay, that's really what my thought was too, but I didn't want to steer you all in that direction.
and I appreciate you, because Ellen asked me to bring it up tonight, and I'm glad you addressed it, because like Laura said, sometimes people will buy, like for a Christmas gift or a Hanukkah gift, or someone will buy a beach pass or a boat rack, and give it as a gift.
Okay, I have one more thing for that too. Are we on
So-
any other new business?
So any other business?
Yeah, I do have a question, Rick. Have we posted the job now for the receptionist? I
My
mean,
position?
It's hard, yeah.
Mitch is updating the job description, so it's gotta do that before it goes out. Because it hadn't been updated since like 2010. Like, for example, operating an emergency shelter wasn't in here, and that's one of the requirements of the director now.
No,
Oh,
I'm talking about the receptionist. Receptionist.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said mine. Oh,
No, no, we're good talking
Oh,
another day.
but yeah, we have 2 applicants. I think Mitch set up interviews for, I think it's Thursday. Only 2 people applied.
All right. Good, because it's hectic without somebody at
Yeah.
that front desk call.
Yeah,
Only
Janet,
2
Savannah,
people
and-
applied
Yeah.
to a full-time job.
I know, isn't that weird?
Well, the employment rate is still up. Your employment rate.
And I'll make the chart.
It's not a
And
good
it
rate.
depends on what we're paying.
Okay, Mike?
Oh,
Oh,
silly
Mike.
question. What, how do
Never
we
silly.
replace him? What's the
We have
process?
to, we're gonna talk, we have to talk about that.
So there's no,
Not just yet, I did.
I
talk
didn't
to
hear your
Matt.
question. What was your
How we're
question?
gonna talk
how,
about.
how do you go about replacing that man right there?
Well, it's serious, it's
Well,
not
well,
possible,
yeah.
but
Right.
Not from an emotional
Yeah.
perspective, from a practical.
No, I didn't know if there was a procedure already that somebody
Was
already
that
knows.
discussed during a meeting or outside?
No,
of a
I
meeting?
didn't
No,
think-
I don't know, we have to,
Okay, I
talk
just,
with
it seems like it's a
powers
secret,
that
but
be.
it shouldn't be.
No,
It should be.
Well, do we have any say in that, or is that all human resources?
No, it's human resources, it's Matt and it's, I guess Rick makes the decision and the
What about me?
commission. Well, your input is invaluable, so.
I don't know.
We should.
Yeah, we kinda- I
So
thought they had suggested they
let's
should have
adjourn
actually
the
done well to here, so I can
Yeah.
work.
Okay, so as there's no other business, yeah, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at, we're still.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 7:50 PM. Second, Tara, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I mean, you're gone the end of.
So
Rick, let us know when you're done.
It's not like
and that's
it's
all.
early January.